the one story in particular that stays with me. A parent and a child physically looking at the scaffolding on the Capitol where they were making repairs. It's close to where our place is in D.C. And the kid saying, "Oh, that's where must be where the broken glass is from the insurrection," and the mom saying, "That's not true. They didn't do that. There's no actual damage there."
Wow.
So people literally don't have the same facts, and that's part of why we've got to find ways to reach people that get outside of the normal bubble.
Pete Buttigieg is in the neighborhood. January 6th, insurrection. If Biden stood there and told people, "Go down there and I'll meet you," God forbid if President Barack Obama did that, I think that the country, and I mean, I feel like the country would have reacted different, but you got these people now that say it wasn't an insurrection. The president didn't advise people to go down there. What do you feel about what happened on January 6th?
I think our country is still coming to grips with what happened. Look, again, if we're not, remember, we're not a country that is based on a shared ethnicity or language like Japan or France. We're a country that's based on an idea. We haven't always lived up to that. We've never 100% lived up to that idea, but we are based on this very powerful idea about democracy. And if we lose that, we're not America. And a core part of that is the peaceful transfer of power. Again, when you lose an election, nobody likes losing an election. I've been there. You move on. And if we don't have that, if we don't have a peaceful transfer of power, if we have political violence around the transfer of power, that is disastrous. And that's why the committee is doing its work. And I'm choosing my words carefully here because I'm part of an administration that takes very, very seriously the independence of what prosecutors do, what the Department of Justice does, and so they've got to handle this as they see fit. But what we know just as a country is that we have some decisions to make about what is tolerable, not whether you agree on right or left, but just what's acceptable in terms of respecting
people lost their lives that day, and people were acting out. And I remember years ago, Minister Farrakhan, he did a Million Man March in D.C., and you couldn't find a piece of trash after 1 million black men went to D.C. He told, clean up after yourself. It was very respectful, so on and so forth. And then when I look at what happened, January 6th, I'm like, man, and it wasn't everybody. Right. But majority, hopping through windows and things of that nature. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. And it continued to see, as you see, like the throwbacks or the file footage, I couldn't believe what I was watching and how there isn't a real blame, as an American citizen and as a person that votes, I would feel like there was someone incited that, and that was Trump. And I know that people get upset when we talk politics and everything, but I just felt like, man, how does he continue to get away with certain things? And maybe not with this, Yeah,
I mean, again, there's a process underway. I'm not going to speak to that.
Come on, tell us.
Tell us how the secrets.
You got I'm not part of that, right? But look, one thing we know is happening is people are increasingly in their own realities. So, literally, you might have a different understanding of what actually physically happened that day.
Right.
If all of your information comes from certain corners of Twitter,
right,
or certain media, you literally, even now, shocking as it sounds, just don't know what happened. I mean, I've friends who've overheard people looking at the one story in particular that stays with me. A parent and a child physically looking at the scaffolding on the Capitol where they were making repairs. It's close to where our place is in D.C. And the kid saying, "Oh, that's where must be where the broken glass is from the insurrection," and the mom saying, "That's not true. They didn't do that. There's no actual damage there."
Wow.
So people literally don't have the same facts, and that's part of why we've got to find ways to reach people that get outside of the normal bubbles. Radio can do that. Being part of something that isn't defined by politics can do that. I think churches can do that. I think any kind of public event, from a sports to entertainment, can do that. We got to have some experiences that cut across these information bubbles so people can begin to be part of the same reality again.
You ran against, campaigned against Biden as well, and now you guys are teammates. How is it working with Biden? When you first started, did you look at him like, this motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like,
you got to. Yeah. That's across your mind.
But now, how is that work relationship?
Look, first of all, I'm here because he hired me, because he invited me to be part of this administration. And I think it speaks especially well as somebody when you're competing. You get to know each other when you're competing, and you come to respect each other, and you come to really appreciate each other. Now, of course, all of us who were competing for that nomination were fundamentally on the same side because we were in the same party. But I came to see just the kind of person he was, especially about him that I really admired and appreciated, is he treated me the exact same at the very beginning of the campaign when there were 20 people, most of them famous, and I was some dude, an obscure mayor from Indiana, who I think a lot of people would say, "What business do you have running?" And he was as nice to me then as to a senator that he'd served with for years. And then during the middle of the campaign, when things were going really well and I was actually doing better, he was just as respectful and kind to me then. And then in the end, when he beat me, he was just as kind and respectful to me then. And he has built a team, including people who competed against him, the vice president and myself, who are all part of that, and other people from across the country and very different backgrounds. When we sit in the cabinet room in the West Wing of the White House, and I look around the table, and I'm looking across at the first black vice president, the first woman vice president. I'm looking at the Secretary of Interior, who was the first Native American, Deb Haaland, the first Native American to be in that role that oversees the way America relates to Indian country and to tribes. And I see the first I think the first Latino. I might be getting this wrong, but the roles of Homeland Security and the Secretary of Education, Alan Mayorkas and Miguel Carrillo. I could go on and on. This incredibly talented, incredibly diverse group of people who we were in any number of different places during that primary, but then came together as a team. And I've obviously never been in a cabinet before, so I don't know what other cabinets are like. But I'm part of this cabinet that is very focused at a time that's incredibly hard for the country because of the shockwaves of the pandemic and inflation and dealing with the war in Russia, all the things going on. And also incredibly promising for the country because we got this infrastructure funding through, my department's working on the transportation pieces. Michael Regan, who's running the EPA, he's working, among other things, on getting rid of lead pipes, which are a huge problem in the country and can rob children of the chance to thrive because lead poisoning, it stays with you for a lifetime. They're working that issue. Gina Raimondo, the Department of Commerce, is working on getting internet, affordable internet, not just internet, affordable internet to every single household in the country. There's this amazing moment where we're doing the kinds of things the kinds of things that people, to your earlier question, the kinds of things people get into government and public service hoping they'd get to do.
That you want to do,
right? And working on that is such a privilege. And the president is a very good boss. When we were going through some really tough times with our son, we have twins. They're going to be 1 year old soon. And but last fall, our son became ill and was on life support for a while. And as we were going through all of that, he made sure that I knew that whatever we needed to do for family would come first, and that he would have my back, and I'll always be grateful for that. I'm part of a great team, and I've got a great boss.
I'm not mad at you. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg in the neighborhood.